Hey, what's good? This video is a conversation I just recently had with the Baltimore City Chamber of Commerce. Over the last year or so, I've been getting tapped in with different business organizations, and I got invited to have this conversation. We're going to go deep into how I started my juice bar business that I scaled to 2 locations, what it's like actually growing a business with inside a large institution like Johns Hopkins University, why I actually stepped away from the brick and mortar business, and what I'm doing now today to help other businesses use AI to move faster. If that's something you're thinking about and you got questions around AI and how to use it for your business, there's 2 ways to work with me. You can click one of the 2 links in the description, whichever one fits best. Let's get into this interview.
All right. So for today's Chamber Chat Live, we have Quintel who is a business strategist, founder of the Green Book Digital, former founder of Good Part and Co. One of my favorite juice bars. It's a juice bar business where he scaled over $720,000 in revenue. Today, he helps entrepreneurs strengthen their systems, content strategy, lead generation, and AI integration to grow more and intentionally and efficiently. How's that sound, Quintel? Does that sum up?
You made me sound better than I actually am, so I appreciate it.
No, you're amazing. And once people hear this interview, they want to know, and if they don't know, I don't know what to tell them. So we'll just start right, and we have about 25 to 30 minutes, so we want to get into the meat of this. So before the strategy work, before AI, before the systems, take us
Mhm.
back to the original vision behind Good Part and Co. and tell us, what were you really trying to build?
So with Good Part and Company, it actually came from previously I did a bunch of parties. So my first business, me and my friends accidentally made a bunch of money and got successful throwing parties in the nightlife. And so that was really kind of like what I liked and what my skills were around. So I had a brand. It's called Here Comes the Good Part. It sounded active, but it made for a horrible name, like for for a website domain. So I like dumbed it down, and I wanted to pivot like out of the businesses. I mean, out of the nightlife business, because like all of the drinking and stuff like that was catching up to me. I was like, oh, this is not sustainable. I don't run my own club, not a manager. I need to do something better. And I was like, you know what? I want a juice bar. I was already about 10 years into being plant-based. I was like, I'm gonna just start a juice bar, right? And so that's what I did. So I just started studying a bit more on like the business and the equipment. And then I started doing the wrong thing, which was I went and got certified as a holistic nutritionist. Like I don't have to know kale better than the next person who already has kale. So that wasn't really the best move, but I did it anyway. It gave me confidence, and it did work for me out in the long run. It was helpful, but yeah. So that's where it started. I was like, I wanted to be able to improve my health and get the energy back, the vigor that I had when I was doing the nightlife scene, but in a healthier way. And then I saw at the time it was prior to the pandemic, but I saw the need for more healthy food options for a lot of the people in the city, especially business professionals. So like I worked at the time I was working for the government, and me, all of my buddies in the cubicles, every day we just eating fast food and stuff like that. Even me, I'm eating like fast casual vegan food or whatever. So I was wanted healthier options, and so that's why I pursued the whole good part thing. So I did some studying, and I started putting together a business plan. Along with that, though, I was kind of hard on myself because I looked up and I was at my job for 10 years and I had no exit strategy because I didn't want to be there forever, right? It did well by me, but I knew I didn't want to be there forever. I was like, hey, Quintel, you kind of slacking. Yo, you don't got no plans, you ain't making no moves, you're not doing the parties. What's going on? So I was like, yeah, this is my move. And so that's what I did. And so um by year 11 and 12, I had my whole plan for Good Part and Company, and took it to the bank, and it worked out. But that was a abbreviated version. So if you need me to go deeper, I can. I don't mind.
No, we're going to get deeper. That's a perfect set off for that. And I was laughing with you saying about you going to go get your holistic health coaching certification, because I feel like that was, especially in like that juicing industry and world, it's
Hmm.
kind of just like you almost get placed into a box, especially if you're pushing a certain message. So people are automatically like, well, are you a health coach? Are you a certified health coach? Like,
Right.
did you go through a full program, or was it what was that like? Was it a few month program? What was that?
I did. So I went through American Fitness Professional. So it was a full program of coaching for holistic health nutrition. Yeah, yeah. So it was a few months. It was self-paced, but you get a whole bunch of books. They were still a little bit antiquated, like AI wasn't a thing. So they sent me like 10 DVDs. So I was like watching these DVDs. I had 2, 3 books. I had 1 or 2 books I picked up on my own, and then I had to take a test. Like they would mail me the test. I had to fill in the answers and send it back. So yeah.
Listen, DVDs just sent me to another place. Because
I
when the
know,
last
right?
time you got a DVD?
Right.
No, I think that's awesome. Again, I'm laughing because I also went through a health coaching program, thinking that that was what you were supposed to do. So it's interesting just looking at some of those some of that journey and stuff like that. That's funny.
Yeah.
Um, how much did your background in nightlife, media, and fashion influence Good Part and Company? And mind you, I'm going to call y'all Good Part and Co. But
Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
Part and Company, how much did that nightlife affect how you operated in Good Part and Company?
Yeah. So one thing I learned in business is wherever you are in business, it's a sum of all of the actions and experiences you had before. So I never slept on everything I did before. So the nightlife, the fashion, all of that type of stuff was a huge part. Like I actually had a meeting with Dame Dash, right? He used to do these things on IG Live. It was free. I recorded it. And I was asking him about like what I should do to start my juice bar. He's like, well, if you already used to give parties, just give parties around the juice instead of around liquor. And that's what I was already doing. So it kind of just validated it. But I was just at the time I was just hyped to talk to Dame. And it was cool. So basically the skill set I gained in promoting and marketing and like directly going meeting people, giving out flyers, texting folks, hitting them up, saying, yo, come through. That's what I did to start Good Part and Company. So I literally start in my apartment. So I just cleared out all of the furniture and invited everybody. So that was one skill set. The nightlife was just basically bringing people together, right, and hanging out. So that was the nightlife side. The fashion side was like that was the lifestyle side because I knew just from the way that I consume like content and how I got into my like my health journey and everything,
Mhm.
it had to seem like real. Like I wasn't just trying to eat more vegetables. I was just living a healthier lifestyle. So I had to add a lifestyle component to it. So like fashion and visuals and stuff like that made it cool. So the very first juice came had a t-shirt right next to it. So I had graphic designs to go along with it. And I designed a full menu and put it inside my apartment. So all of those things went together. So the fact that I know how to do graphic design, but like I went to FIT and my background is in graphic design for fashion. So like making tech packs and stuff like that. So I had no problem making merch. I had no problem doing the graphic designs. I did it all myself. I wish I didn't have to, but I did. So all of it, some of all those experiences, and that's what kind of got Good Part off to a good start. Then I had friends in fashion who did like photography. So they would come and help me with, food shots or model shots and things like that. So I just rolled it all into Good Part and said, all right, that's everything I got. I'm just gonna give it everything I got.
And it paid off because I remember when your photos started circulating and
Hmm.
starting to look more into your juice company. I was like, he has it. Like, this is a
Thank you.
distinct look, this is a distinct energy. It's a clean look. It was like truly pushing the lifestyle brand concept,
Hmm.
which is something that I feel like businesses should do more of pushing that full scope of what that branding looks like. So all of your background definitely paid off. At least to me, I was like,
Thank you.
absolutely yes. um, thank you so much for sharing that, and also thank you so much for sharing just that preview of doing these parties inside of your home. And we're
Hmm.
going to dive into that as well. But I want to touch on, because I was watching some of your podcast videos and something specifically stood out to me in one of your interviews where you were talking about your first location on Charles Street and being across the street from Smoothie King. I thought
Uh-huh.
it was a genius point there. You talked about it, realizing Smoothie King wasn't actually your competition
Hmm.
because you were ultimately speaking to a different audience. How important was understanding your message and customer and building Good Part and Company?
Yeah, a lot of times when you start a business, like you start it based on like whatever your problem is, or you solve somebody else's problem. But you have to think about how they are thinking about their solution. Like that's how you get the best messaging. Like you have to speak the language of the person that's buying from you, and you got to think about what they're doing all day. So one day I was sitting, like my staff, they couldn't come in that morning, so I was sitting behind the counter, and you could see Smoothie King from if you're sitting at the counter, you could see Smoothie King, and there was this black car that used to pull up all the time, and it was a black guy that drove the car, so he pulled up. And he would go to Smoothie King, but that day for some reason Smoothie King staff they were slacking too. So he came across he was walking to his car and looked up, and I seen him look up, and he came across the street and he bought a smoothie, and he was like, I never knew this was over here. And he like when I realized I was having something different is because when he seen the options that we had, and he was like, "Well, what you scooping to put in it?" And I was like, "I don't have a lot of scoops other than these three things right here." he realized it was a totally different product. And he was happy with it. He was like, I'm gonna come. Well, one, he was just like trying to support the kid, and then he was coming through the, he would come back more often. But I realized like, oh yeah, I really am selling something different. And then on top of that, I did have to accept the fact that like I just can't keep up with the pace of the things that they make because they just got a way bigger budget than me. So I was like, I gotta go the complete opposite way and find my own pace, like my own race, which was I could connect with people way faster than they could because like it's a corporate brand, it's a franchise. So like connection is not, it's all transactional where we can hang out. Like it's no seats in Smoothie King. I got a whole cafe vibe set up. You know what I'm saying? They can DJ the joint if they want, right? I'm gonna pass them the aux. So like I can win in ways that they can't win. So as far as the messaging, I was able to communicate and talk to people more directly. And so I was starting to learn what they actually want, what they thought about the food, what they thought about beet juice, and why they don't like kale, and what they did like about Smoothie King, like the size. Like I just can't compete on the size of a 32-ounce smoothie. They're just the margins don't work for me. But I get to learn a lot more. And so being able to get close to the customer like that was what helped me improve the messaging and understand who I'm serving versus who somebody like Smoothie King will be serving.
That's such an important point, and even you recognizing that not being able to compete with Smoothie King, and not that that was a bad thing. It also it really helped you adjust your marketing and how you were going about trying to attract your customers. Because I
Hmm.
think early on, especially for millennials, we see like these very large corporations. It's like I want to be like that, but
Yeah.
understanding what that budget is, how much volume they're kicking out because they have bodies that are available to do
Hmm.
that. Like all of that's starting with, well, what is your capital and what is your capacity and who is there to help push this machine of labor? Because that's what it is. It's a machine of labor. So I
Yep.
think that's awesome that you even figured that part out. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's dope. And your space across from Smoothie King, and no shade to Smoothie King because people still go to Smoothie King, but
Yeah.
it felt much more intimate inside of your space. Like you said, you had the bench, and Smoothie King is more like it's volume. It's like get in, get out. You can pick your flavors. You can get a 32-ounce for $6, but I can't get it
Hmm.
over here because I'm not buying in bulk to get
Right.
fruit for 10 cents.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that is funny. Um, so do you think a lot of businesses struggle because they don't actually know what they are selling beyond the product?
I don't. I think businesses struggle for different reasons. So a lot of businesses, I think they think they struggle because they lack funding. But really, you just gotta turn the dollar. And you turn a dollar by solving the problem. So they don't think enough about the problem. Like they don't empathize with the customer. So like, for example, when you start a business, a lot of times, like coming from where we come from, we got like friends and peers and stuff like that. And they are not our first customers because they likely don't have the same interests we have. And they may not have the same problems or things that we got to solve. So they aren't our customers. So you got to figure out who your actual customer is and what the problem is that they have. And then when you start to learn more about their problems, then you won't struggle so much because the first time the person most willing to spend money with you is the person who already spent money with you. So if you figure out what their problem is, you solve it and they pay for you, they will come back to you to solve that problem again or to solve more problems that's related to that. And businesses struggle because they don't think about what's the problem that my customer has now.
Mhm.
Like not just one problem. What's the problem they had before they got to that point? What's the problem they're gonna have after that? Which is going back to the health coaching thing. I didn't need to be a health coach to start a juice business. But once I got a person to buy the juice, they are on a health journey. The problem they gotta solve after that is what kind of food do I make when I get home?
Mhm.
Then what kind of food do I make my husband? Because he damn sure don't like this type of stuff, right? But you're a man, what he likes. So you gotta really think about how your customer is interacting with that problem. And that would help businesses from struggling around making more sales because they made their business or their product. They may be really great at the product, but they can't communicate it because they're not thinking about how the customer sees that problem.
That's an amazing point, and I know that you drive this home with your clients, and I know they lining up because I think that a lot of businesses are started out of struggle, so we're not even thinking about exactly what problem we're solving for the customer. A lot of times we're trying to solve a problem for ourselves, which is like,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
need to get my health right. I need to try to make some money. I'm good at this skill set. People like it. They're coming over. Let me keep doing this same thing. which sometimes it worked, but we obviously know, just being a business, that that works for only but so long, and then
Yeah.
strategy has to come in of how do you retain that customer, how do you dig deeper into your customer, like all those things. Like, I think that's a phenomenal point of what you've made. Uh, and kind of really circling back to the same point, how important is clarity about what you're doing, about what you're selling? How important is clarity before marketing?
I think that you can be really clear, but it may change like before you start marketing. So you might just be in the ballpark when you first start marketing. Like, because I still have problems with it sometimes myself too. But if you can speak more to outcomes than features, you you'll be okay. Like, because let's say it's like a target, like a target, and you're gonna be in the outer rung, and the more you learn about your customers, the more experience you get, the more times you experiment with your products and your services and stuff like that, you'll just get closer and closer to the center. So you don't have to be 100% sure, I don't think, when you first start, before you start marketing, but you got to be in the ballpark, right? You can't think that you're not going to sell like, you don't need to sell heaters in Phoenix, Arizona, right? So don't think that you need to go to another part of the country, come over to the East Coast, and you'd be better off selling heaters there. So uh, that's what I think. I think that you don't have to be 100% clear before you start your marketing, but you got to be in the ballpark.
Agree, agree. Marketing is so essential. This is why you all need to get connected to Quintel. As you can
Yeah.
tell, it has a lot of information. So we're going to switch gears
Okay.
with you transitioning into Johns Hopkins.
Mm.
What did that season of growth look like for you once Good Part and Co. expanded into Johns Hopkins Arena? The
All
million
of it,
dollar question.
Kelly, all of it was literally $1 million question. Yo, all of it was scary. Like, it was scary, but not to the point. Like, it wasn't debilitating fear. If you want, this is really one of those moments where you know what they say, like, you just give it to God. I'm trying to make sure that the first shot worked. I'm really trying to make sure the first shot works. So before Hopkins even came into my life, I'm trying to make sure the staff get paid. I'm like, yo, when do I start making money? I ain't made no money in a whole year. Like, when do I start making money? Because I ain't know no better, right? I'm just starting out. But when Hopkins came knocking, and like they DM me and send me the offer and everything, people don't believe it, but like, that offer came through DM. Like, that wasn't no phone call. They DM me. Um, I was surprised. And then I was like, well, I talked to like two people. Like, I don't outsource a whole bunch of my thinking, because most people don't have the same experiences you do when you're an entrepreneur. And then you can't have so many chefs in the kitchen if it's your business. But anyway, I talked to a few people, and I was like, you know what? Honestly, I don't have the funding to expand. I didn't plan to expand so fast. So that's why it was scary. I was like, I don't know what to do. And then I was like, well, I know I don't really have the money for it, but then I gave it to God. I was like, I'm gonna still take him up on the offer to pitch, and I'm not going to deny myself the opportunity to be better or to grow or to experience this. So I just did what I had to do, sent out, the details of everything they asked for. I sent it back to them. And then it was months before they hit me back. So the first bout of fear was getting out my own way to take the step. The second bout was just straight up uncertainty. Like, they never hit me back. It was like 3 months. So now I'm just like doing everything I can, to back to my shop. Like, I didn't think about the outcome at all, Kelly. I was like, whatever. I did my part. I did the best I could with what I had. I made a whole presentation, sent it over, boom. And I just went back to work. I thought about it for like 2 weeks. Like, yo, they ain't hit me back. They ain't hit me back. After that, I had way too many other pressing issues, and I think that was a good thing, because it 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 kind of like it stopped me from thinking about it, so I didn't have to think about the fear. Then once everything went through and I won the offer, then I got scared again, because I was like, where the hell am I gonna get the rest of the money from? Like, I ain't making that much money here to go and
Right.
buy, do everything I got to do to expand. So I had to figure out a way to make that happen. So now I gotta go get all this extra money, and that's nerve wracking, because you gotta deal with all these new financials, and I'm just learning how to manage the finances I have.
Yeah.
And then we open up, and this is a whole different world. So it's more fear, because I gotta serve at literally 10x the amount of sales a day.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a lot of fear, but it was the kind of fear that propels you forward. So it was all good. It was all good.
I commend you. Like you set the tone with that one. I remember when that announcement went out that you were going to be were you the first black house cafe that was there, house cafe partner that was there,
Yeah,
correct?
so I was the first black food vendor partnership, the first black food partner they had, and the first health cafe they ever had, or
Wow.
juice bar that they ever had, whichever way you want to say it.
Like truly set the tone, right?
Yeah.
Creating really creating that accessibility for people if they want to follow in that footsteps to be able to partner with institutions like
But listen,
Hopkins.
they did though. So Towson did the same program. Like they brought in Greenhouse, right? And I was like, we know where that came from. So that
Yeah,
that's what that's the whole point of doing business. Like you
yeah,
create value in so many other places. Like I don't benefit from it. Hopkins don't benefit from it, but it's helpful. I get to see another business that I know, right? I know Greenhouse. Like I ain't know nothing about that deal, but when it happened, I seen what the play was, right?
mhm.
Because we was able to make it happen at Hopkins and Good Part. So I was excited
Yeah.
about it. Yep.
Look, yeah, like setting the standard, and I love that it's not just setting a standard so you can stay in space and in place, but also setting a standard so people can come through after you.
Yep.
We won't always be in the same predicaments or the same spaces. Like things shift, we move on to different things. So still being able to open up that lane and being the first one to do that, I think that's phenomenal. Like I said, when I saw you guys going in there, I was like, who else would go in there other than Good Part and Company? Like I was just
Thank you.
like,
Yep.
like that's a phenomenal play. What are some of the operational realities that people did not see? I know you spoke a bit about the volume increased 10 times because you have all those Hopkins students now that are now coming in every day. Tell us a bit
Hmm.
about that.
Man, it was totally different. So some of the operations were point of sale system. So I'm working with the school. The school has meal plan budgets. So now I gotta learn how to operate sales like cash sales and then meal plan sales. The marketing is different. It's the same product, but it's a different customer base. So we talked about messaging. The messaging for a student athlete is different from somebody who like a 9 to 5 employee, right? Because they got a stricter schedule. They are 10 years older. They got to think about their diet different. They actually have more money to spend. So I got to think about if I can sell them something else that's helpful to them, right? So that type of thing. Then because I had the amount of value, now I got to think about all of the inventory, how fast I can get the inventory, how much more inventory, how do I log the inventory for the pace of what's going on campus. Then the directions, like the actual logistics, because it's open to the public. So I'm still bringing in customers that used to come to the other store, come to this store, but they want to know how to find it. And I can't be on my phone all day behind the counter guiding customers through. I don't know where they at. Like I'm not sitting in their GPS. So now I got to think about like the logistical operations, not only for customers, but for other partners I had, like vendors, they got to drop stuff off. They got to figure out, can they get the 16 wheeler down into the turnabout to get to the school? And then like the partnerships is different too, because I'm thinking, so I always think like peer to peer, like how me and you were talking. Like even when you and I first met, we just see each other in real life and like, hey, yeah, we know each other, we talk like that. But I have to deal with administrators and educators. Like they don't, that's not the same type of connection and relationship. And the connections or the partnerships or the pathways to success are different. It's a little bit slower because they got to go up a few channels where it's like all the business that I'm used to doing, like it just worked through me. Like, how can we make it happen? And then it just get done or it don't get done. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of different operations. Hiring right now it's I got to hire to match the schedule of school. So the days the operating hours are way longer, right? I'm inside of a gym. People come to the gym way early in the morning until later in the evening. So yeah, operating hours. That means I have to manage labor costs a lot different. So it's a lot of different operations. Storage is way different because the space is different and it's not all my space. I got to work on their schedule. I got to open the door. I got to be there when they open the door sometimes. So yeah, it's just a lot. It's a lot different. A lot of different things to manage for operations.
Woo, a lot.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
were you still the only one that was like as like the only founder at that point, or did you bring in a co-founder at any
Hey,
point?
quick break in the video. If you made it this far, then you've heard me talk about clear messaging. You heard me talk about setting up our operations. Those are the two most important things that I use AI for, and if you're struggling around how you can actually point AI in the right direction to create better messaging so you can market right and attract the right clients and customers, or you want to figure out how to make the day-to-day flow better, how to improve your operations, then click one of the links in the description, set up a time to chop it up with me, and I can help you build out an AI game plan, or you can set up office hours and I can answer one very specific question to get you on the right path, get you over the hurdle, and using AI to improve your business. Now back to the interview.
Like how?
Oh, so
Oh,
when you talk about the operation, so you got to manage. So I can't be in two places at once, and I still had a full-time job. Like I was still working for the government full time.
wow.
Uh, so I had the two locations, and I worked for the government. So I hired a manager, and it was one of my friends. We were friends, uh, to manage, Hopkins for a while, but it didn't work out. But I was smart enough to at least try to get somebody to step in and be able to make things work, as well as possible. But it ain't work out. And then also when you operate and stuff like that, from you got to know how things work from the ground up. So I already had the first location mastered. I didn't know how things would work for the new location. So I really need to be the person that was in. I should have put him in the first location where things was already more settled,
Mm.
and I start the new location so I can get the feel for how it's going and how to manage all of the communications and all the setup and stuff. So that was a lot of that was on me too.
That's such a smart thing to point out and say, because a lot of times, like, uh, people are like, you got to bring people in to help you, obviously, to manage what you're doing. But you do have to have a keen eye for, well, where exactly do I need you to be
Hmm.
managing? Because a lot of times, if we don't put people in the right positions, like, you almost instantly kind of like, all right, it doesn't last
Exactly.
long enough. I
Yep.
definitely made that mistake very early on. If I start laughing, I'm like, oh, okay. Like that is a really interesting point that you said there. But thank you for sharing that aspect,
Hmm.
and again, kudos for being in that space, and not only just being in that space and surviving, but also being in that space and generating up to over
Oh yeah,
seven
no,
hundred
no,
and
we turned
twenty.
it up. We turned it
Hey,
up. They
like,
they they
let's
didn't
talk
know.
about the
They didn't
numbers.
expect. All right, so they didn't expect it to be like that. All right. So after doing like a bunch of different deals, especially in nightlife, because nightlife is like we were right before like Square. Nobody was paying at the door with their card. So we got a lot. We made a lot of cash. Like me and my buddies. So you used to seeing a lot of money, and then you at the bar. Like we ain't control the bar. We seeing thousands of dollars turnover. So I'm used to seeing deals go down like that and see people talk about money. When you deal with a big institution, that's a whole different kind of money. So they coming to me. They talking about numbers that's like way above money I've ever made myself. So they were talking to me like about the potential of what could happen. But again, I'm dealing with administrators and educators. I'm not dealing with entrepreneurs. So they don't know how to facilitate the transactions the same way that like even at my level, like I'm not a super pro, but I know more than they do because I had to start it. Like I had to make it.
Yeah.
So anyway, just basically what they said I could make and what I made wasn't the same. But when they saw what I was, they did not expect to see that type of acceleration on the dollars. I didn't. I didn't like people. Everybody thought basically out the gate, Kelly, they thought I was gonna make like millions of dollars. Like literally, like the first year they was trying to say I was gonna make $1 million. Not just Johns Hopkins, but other people who I let see my contract. And I see why they would say that because if you do the math on how many people attend the school, that's what you think. But you really got to be up on it. We still live in America. Most people don't exercise. So I'm still tied to a physical location. If you don't come to the gym, you're not gonna buy nothing from me. So that means I gotta do the work to get people to the gym, or Hopkins can help me do some work to get the people to the gym. And so that didn't happen that way. And so I had to maximize everybody that came to the gym, whether it be people who original supporters, like the original good partners that used to come before, or the new ones, which are like the students, the staff, the faculty, the student athletes and stuff like that. And so once they start getting in there, now I'm figuring out what they like, what they want to buy. And so I'm able to turn over like $10,000 in a week, which is a lot when you're only selling a $9 bottle or something, or a $10.50. And they thought that was high. But I was like, well, you know, I can only adjust the price but so much. And Hopkins they asked me to do that, which is like that slowed down the pace of how much money we can make because they asked that I keep the budget or the prices student friendly. Once I get talking to the students and I'm realizing like, no, they value this enough that they're gonna pay what they're gonna pay for it. So I ain't never had to like hit them over. The students didn't complain. It was always the faculty. It was never really the students complaining about the price anyway. So here's the deal. We talked about the point of sale system, right? So now I'm figuring out how much money I'm making through through the college transactions, regular cash transactions, and I'm still making money through my website, and I'm still making money selling juice cleansers. We're selling t-shirts and hats and socks. The coaching thing came later, so I was doing that. But as far as just making money for Johns Hopkins, that's where the $720,000 plus came from, because like I was able to figure out a way. Okay, the job fair is coming, or like the engineer fair is coming. So now I'm talking to my man. He on the baseball team. Like, yo, what's coming up? What's going on? Is a young lady who they like computer science or something related to health and medical. I say computer science, but it was health and medical. So I would ask her what's happening, because I need to know who about to come around that corner, because I can't see. Like, we literally at the edge of the campus. If you go to Hopkins, you know that the whole sports facility is on the. So I don't know what's going on down in the rest of the campus, but there are times when they have to use the gym for like big campus-wide events. I'm like, yo, what's going on this week? Anything popping? It was okay. Yeah, extra staff, extra acai bowls, extra strawberries, extra blueberries. I already know. Bring it through. We need all that, and that's how I'm able to make one. They look and they like, well, oh yeah, well it makes sense, but like they didn't coach me through that. I had to figure that out, and I was able to roll that over into like more and more sales and connect with students that wouldn't normally come, and then they started coming to the gym and to the juice bar and everything, because now they know what's over there, because some of them never knew it was over there. So that's how that went. Sorry, that was kind of long-winded, but that's how that went.
No, Quintel, you are so smart because, and the reason why I say this is because you're so open about the things that you did not know and
Yeah.
how you really had to figure out in real time. Like, I'm surprised to hear that Hopkins did not help. Not that they didn't help, but I imagine that if they were to take on a bulk of that, like marketing and pushing that out, that would have
Mhm.
helped you a bit more.
Yeah.
But the fact that you just was like, I got to get in and do what I have to do to maintain and survive, that is how you got to the 720,000. Like, I think you're just a phenomenal business person. And I think it also speaks to, uh, being a native of Baltimore City, we just
Yes.
figured it out. Like,
Yes.
quick on our feet, and especially when it comes to making money and having to figure out when you're already in position. Because what do you like? You got one, two options. You either tuck your tail and go home, or you show up and do what you
Yep.
have to do. And you showed up. I'm
Yeah.
so proud of you. Like, I probably have said this to you so many times, but like truly, whenever I
Thank
speak
you.
on like juice bars in Baltimore, and I'm like, Quintel is one of them who has done his thing. And not only just in the juice bar, because we're also going to talk about how you have pivoted into this different space, which I think for me is what I think is one of the most like important parts of your journey. So this next question I have is, a lot of entrepreneurs have been conditioned to believe that brick and mortar growth is the ultimate goal. What shifted your perspective on what sustainable entrepreneurship could look like?
All right. So I'm gonna tell you what I think about sustainable entrepreneurship. Optimize for cash flow, because sustainability means comes from having money in business. You need to have money. Like, you don't need to have grants. You need that money on deck now. So if you got loans, okay, cool. But even still, that has to be repaid. So you want to optimize for cash flow, right? And so with brick and mortar, the overhead is high, and so you have to do a lot, to start to try to get as much profit as possible so that you can sustain your business, because you can't grow a business like business you can't grow a business if you don't have enough cash to keep it going. And in the brick and mortar space, the reason why I pivoted out of it and I was okay, it's a few reasons, but the main thing is, like, when I started, I wanted to have 5 juice bars. I got the 2, so I'm like 20, I'm not halfway there, but I'm on the right track. But I'm doing the math, and I'm like, every time I want to do a new juice bar, it costs me 50, 60, 70,000, depending on what the space is. And that's a lot of capital expense every time I want to do something new. And that means it is a step backwards in making money. Because then once you invest that money, you gotta get the cash flow going, you gotta get the volume up so that you can start to make profit on that investment, on the expansion. And I didn't like that. And food and beverage, the margins are thin anyway. I'm not a foodie, so I don't love the food process. Like, it's not matter. It don't matter that, I mean, I have a limited diet anyway. I'm only eating plants, so it's not like that. It's not that serious. So, and it's not like that's not to downplay it. Like the health part is what was my main outcome. So that didn't keep me attached to it. And that is why I was like, okay, if I'm going to be in business, I like business. I like generating opportunity. I like for me and whoever I'm working with to win and shine. And we all participate in this because like we all win from it. And I was like, this type of winning is too slow for me. It's too heavy. Like I don't mind physical labor, but like I'm not trying to. It's not where the best use of my ability.
Mhm.
So like you said, you gave me credit for being a Baltimorean and figuring it out, but you also got to figure out what it is that you do well. And I'm not going to be the best at managing like a lot of people, managing all of the operations. I'm gonna do enough to figure it out, but I know that that wasn't my strong suit. So when the opportunity came for me to make a change, I was more than willing to make that change.
100% agree. And most people would question, like, especially after hearing the revenue that you generated at Hopkins, they would ask, why wouldn't you stay there? But
Yeah,
food and beverage is a labor intense business. And like you said, unless you're a chef that actually loves that process of
yeah,
cooking, like it's one thing to love it and you want to be in it. But if you're just a person who's become naturally good at something like selling juices or making food, that labor part starts to drain you. And then especially
yeah,
when you have to deal with all those additional logistics, inventory, prep, also managing people, that
yeah.
stifles the creativity
Oh,
in you.
and can I add something though? Like I actually had healthier margins than most food and beverage businesses, and I still didn't like it. So we was between 25 and 30%, and most people was operating under 20. And that's because I was just like extra trying to stay extra on top of it. And that wasn't until later on and I got that good. But even at those margins, that's when I realized that expansion cost too much. Like I would have to put up all this money and then wait, hopefully, and hope is not a strategy in business. So, it's difficult, but yeah, yeah. Next question.
No, that's no. I think that's dope because it reminds me of the movie The Founder, where I understood that Mike McDonald's was not in the business of food; they were in the business of real estate. So it's
Yeah,
like if
yeah,
you're going to expand in that way, you got to look at what are you actually building. Is it the food restaurant? Are you buying something else? Like what is it? Because you definitely have to have the capital, the labor, and you have to have the energy to keep that up. And
yeah.
honestly, it's a bit much.
Yeah, yeah, it can weigh you down, man. It can weigh you down.
Shout out to you for pivoting. Um, and you've pretty much touched on it. We want to say a little bit of this, and I know we are over y'all, but we don't get. This is a good conversation, so
Thanks.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
get these questions
let's keep
out,
it going. Let's
and
keep it
you all
going.
gonna reflect on this after this over. Do you feel like many entrepreneurs are building businesses that depend entirely on their physical presence to survive?
Yeah, but I don't think that that's all bad. So people will be like, well, when you get a little more experience, they'll be like, oh, you don't want to have key man risk. Doug, are you winning? Are you making money? Are you helping people provide for their families? What is the risk? Like everybody don't need to scale their business to tens and billions of dollars. Like, so some people say that I don't have a problem with that. So I don't think it's anything wrong for you to build a business that's dependent on you. That gives you the opportunity to go build another business. If that's what you got to do to get ahead, that's what you got to do to win in your business. Like I have no problem. Like I believe in founder-led businesses. I don't think every business has to be that way, but especially in today's time, if you if your business is dependent on you, you can't be replicated. It's only one you. I mean, it's more value. There's a premium on you and that business because you are attached to it. So max out. Like, don't be trying to dodge the whole, nah, I'm trying to be behind the scenes. And that's cool until you meet Kelly and now she just gonna smile and then everybody gonna come across the street, to her store. Or you meet me and I'm just going to just run a lap. Or you meet the next guy from down the block and he be like, man, I couldn't wait to get in his space. Now he in the spot and he doing this thing and he got, he just doing whatever the thing is and making it look good. You meet somebody like Devin Allen and they just pop up with the camera and like they relentless with it. You think he complaining about being who he is and being the only person? No, no. So like it's okay. You have to know what you're really good at because if you're doing more of that for the business, then that's when you don't get burnt out. You're not thinking about key man risk as much. There's going to be a time when you got to grow. You got to replace yourself in the business. But I don't think business owners need to be in a rush to do that until they get the most value out of the business. Or unless somebody come and buy the business, which most businesses don't get acquired. So max out. on who you are. Like that's what's going to bring all of the value. So that it's okay to do that. It's okay to do that. Don't do more than what you think you're good at. Don't try to do everything because you're not going to be great at everything.
Mhm.
But if you're the center of the business, because all business is an extension of the person who's running the business. I won't say an extension of the founder, it's an extension of the person running the business. Like if you take Apple, for example, we know it's an extension of Steve Jobs. But once he wasn't here with us anymore and we had Tim Cook, it became more of an extension of Tim Cook. Like he was executing on Steve Jobs' vision. So it was more about like operations and making sure they kept really good products going forward, but they ain't make a lot of new fly stuff. Right. So it's an extension of the person that's running it. So if you're gonna be the person that's running it, run it up. That's how I look at it.
Y'all heard him run it up. And then I think
Yeah.
too, like people are you hear it more about people talking about having to scale and wanting to open up that next location before they've even solidified the first location, before they've even, dug deep enough to figure out, have I really dug into my customer who is right here? What else can I offer them before jumping ship and going on? Because you feel that like I guess that inner motivation to be like, yes, let's go because I have the momentum. But the reality is sometimes it's okay to stay in that space and continue to grow that one
Yeah.
space and do what you have to do. So I thank you
Yeah.
for sharing that portion as well. Um, at what point did you begin thinking more about your freedom, your time, and sustainability versus just the growth inside of the spaces, physical spaces?
So I only started business to get freedom. So it's a book called Your Next Five Moves by Patrick Bet David. And this was before he was as big as he is on YouTube and got all the shows and Valuetainment. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, but he sold his company for like hundreds of millions of dollars. So his first book was the next five moves, and in it there's a grid, and the grid it helps you determine like what's the reason you're in business. So what motivates you to do business? Is it to make the most money, to be like the number one person? Some people like high performance like that, and some people are just wired for like autonomy, and that was me. So I always started my business thinking about freedom. Like I want to live the life I want. I want to work with who I want when I want, that type of thing. So once I got into the space, that was one level of freedom because now I got my own business. But that was a lot of that was more about like ownership. It kind of fed my ego a little bit, but I was literally in there all the time, and I didn't mind because I liked my space. But I realized how much I couldn't do. So now it's opportunity cost. There's a lot of other things I can't do to actually grow this business because I got to be in here doing this type of stuff, which is like chopping carrots and beets. And people don't like that. Like it's not fun. Wash and kill. Like it's a lot of work, man. And that's when I started to realize like this is very limiting. Like, and then it's a guy, he hit me up, his name Jesse. He live in Atlanta. He from the DMV area. And like Jesse, he mad cool, he popping in Atlanta. And he was like, yo, can you do a pop-up in Atlanta? And I was like, I wish. Cause now I know that they would, they would eat it up and they would really like literally like they would love it. But I can't get there. So I'm missing out on opportunities like that. I'm missing out on opportunities to get to DC. So or to get across town to like set up a satellite space and stuff like that. And I realized how limited, things started to get just because you got to be tied to the space. Like I had to be tied to the space.
Yeah, that's a serious break. Like, and again, I don't think there's anything wrong with you being in a space if that is a part of your personality. Because some people
Yeah.
absolutely love being in the space, seeing the people, and having that routine. But I feel like when you're a creative person and a visionary like yourself, you realize very quickly how limiting it is because, like you said, you got to be in there chopping fruits and beets are not easy to chop. So let's
No.
start there.
Yeah, man. It's like a workout.
It's a workout, forearms burning. So, that's a serious realization. So thank you so much for sharing that. We're going to drop into the AI space with you and digital ownership. So
Okay.
once you started understanding your systems and your audience ownership and digital infrastructure more deeply, what made you realize there was a bigger opportunity beyond just the physical storefront? I think you kind of touched on this, but you can go a bit deeper into that.
So when you have a business, you you are now primed for the next best move, right? And that sometimes it's a distraction, but what happens is just like what they call like the aperture, like on the camera. Like so when you do like this and the camera lens open up more, like you get that the more and more you're in business. Like the longer you in it, even if you're not getting a lot of money, like the longer you in it, the more you get to see. So I'm gonna tell you what happened. So with Johns Hopkins, I'm working. I have to operate the business on the school schedule.
Mm.
So for spring break, school closed for a week. So that's a week of me not making money. So and it's springtime, and that's the busy season. So spring break happening, but behind the scenes. So the reason I got into AI because I was already using email automations, and then I'm used to working on a computer for years and years and years with the government, and then prior to that in college and stuff. So like I'm not a developer engineer, but I've always been on the computer. So I'm using automations. Automations is that's basically like auto response is the same thing as AI. So I understand that. But the aperture part, the part where I'm seeing the bigger opportunity is along with the $720,000, like we made $45,000 on MailChimp.
Mm.
So that's just online sales.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, you don't know how much work, you don't know how easy that was for me. Like that was my lane, but the it's less labor. It's not easy work, but it's easier and it's easy for me. And I'm like, mind you, this $45,000. The most expensive item is $400. That's like a dual 5-day cleanse, right? So a partner pack. So that's like 50 juices or something, like five a day, five to whatever, 20 something juices. So that's like a big box of juice. That's
Mm.
$400. That's the most expensive item. The cheapest item is like a pen, like a little enamel pen. So the average cost of the things I'm selling on MailChimp is like again $9, $11. The socks is like 20. So like that brought it up to like 11.50. So just think about how many $11 items you got to sell to get to 45,000, and that was like that was kind of light. That was kind of light. That was not hard work. And I was like, oh yeah, I need to be doing more of that. I need to be doing more of that. And then boom, I'm gonna tell you. So AI was out by this time. I used it to put together an email campaign, right? But I made it a month-long campaign. So I asked for 14 or 17 emails within 30 days. So I wrote all the emails, I edited all the emails, and I gave it my full menu. And we got to talk about all these items. Re, just keep repeating it, especially the most popular thing, which like the ginger shots and stuff. I loaded it, and it takes time. Like I can't lie, it takes like 2-3 hours, and most people don't have the patience for that. But I loaded up the email campaign in Mailchimp, and so Mailchimp can attribute the sale. So a person click here, and it goes to the website, and they buy. It logs that. So I set up the campaign. I set it because I knew once spring break hit, I can't be on the computer. I got to be behind the counter supporting the staff or doing errands, running whatever. And behind the counter, and we chopping, we making the smoothies. I'm at the blender, and my phone keep going off. I think something happening, but it's sales. It's juice cleanses hitting off the email campaign, and it was just like more than average. It wasn't like all day long. Like I'm not trying to exaggerate. Like I was just making millions, but it was consistent. And it was around that time where I just missed all of that money for that week being closed. I'm basically making up for that time, and just like during the downtime while I'm chilling, like the email is going off, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is the thing. I need to be doing a lot more of this. This is more my speed. So that was how I figured that out.
We love easier money. Like
Yes.
it's not. Long story short, like we love easier money, and I love that what you're doing now in your entrepreneurship and business ownership is you are bringing attention to how to utilize AI to help companies to be able to understand their business better, to be able to
Hmm.
scale, how to save the money. Like talk about that and why it's important. I mean, you really just gave us a clear understanding of like that was easier money, but talk about why businesses should not necessarily fear AI, because I feel like people have a bit of a fear about it,
Yeah,
but
they do.
tell the people like how to embrace AI and what can they really see for an outcome with adding that into their business.
So when it comes to using AI in your business, you have to think about it in terms of what do you gain and how does that help? Like, what's the secondary effects of that? So it's always going to be the very first effect, which is it's going to save you time or make you more money. But what happens when you save more time? You have an opportunity to gain more. That's what's really happening. So you can't look at it. You can't have you have to have an abundant mentality around things, and to really get the maximum like use case out of it for you to grow your business. So you can't have like any kind of limitations around what it can do. It can do a whole, if you're working on a computer, it can do something for you. And every business has to use some kind of software. So brick and mortar or not, you're going to have to use some kind of software. Um, don't worry about whether or not it's going to take your business. If you what we talked about being making yourself the focal point or the key man risk, well, the AI cannot be you. Like it could take some tasks, it could speak like you to some degree, but it can't be you. So now you got to use it to do all the other things that allow you to be more you. And that's one thing I say to people, like we know there's going to be a lot of displacement and then people are going to have to get like reskilled and stuff like that. But AI is actually going to allow us to be more human. Like right now, we're starting to see a shift of people looking for more in-person, like the cost of events is higher because it's a premium on real life experience, right? If AI can do a lot of things that we didn't really want to do, spending time sending emails or searching for things online to go shopping, we can actually spend time with the people we want once we realize we still like people, right? We still gotta like humans, but we can spend more time with our kids, our grandkids, our cousins, our siblings. Like you can, it can remind you that you ain't called your mom in however much time it may have been, things like that. Like your mom shouldn't be on the schedule like that, but for some people they may need that, right? And it can allow you to be more human. When it comes to business, though, if there's anything you're doing on a computer that's taking you a long time or you absolutely don't like doing it, you can find a way to get AI to take care of it for you. And that's the biggest benefit. I think that's just no matter what business you have, it can take care of the thing that you probably don't like to do on that computer.
And ultimately, it creates long-term sustainability, which is what you really push.
Yeah. Yeah, it really does. But you really can't get people to see. But so far, when you're in your business, you don't even have to be in survival mode or just starting, unless you have a very certain type of makeup, or you've already been in business for a long time, or you come from a history of entrepreneurs. Like if your family had a business for 10 years already, or you grew up in a business, that business has like that business can actually last a long time. But most people don't think that way. So I don't talk about like the super duper long term effects. I gotta bring it a little bit closer. I gotta make it a little more visceral. Like, what do you need to get done tomorrow? What are you going to get done next week or the next 2 months? We could probably do it in 2 days. Like no lies. Whatever will probably take. The part of the reason it's going to take you too long is because you don't want to do it. So that's why you got to change your mindset. And then you probably don't have the skills and know what things or what tools to use. That's the part. That's what we're going to cut down so much time and save people so much more time. And that's how you go and actually make you. This is how you make more money in this way. You can actually generate more money, or you don't have to spend so much money. And now you actually you have more profit because you just don't got to spend money on certain types of labor and resources.
Once again, Quintel, you're breaking grounds, right? Because it is truly about the longevity for business. I think we do a lot of celebrating once a business gets their grand opening. We do the photo ops, we do the ribbon cutting, but then
Yeah,
after that is where the real work is about to begin. Like, how do
yeah,
we sustain longer than 1 to 3 years? How do you have this business to be able to pass on to whoever you want to pass on to? Or to your point earlier, how do we get our business in a space where someone wants to purchase it? Because I can guarantee the average small business is not thinking about somebody purchasing that business, but that is
yeah.
a very real thing. And you can share. Yep. Were you going to say
No,
something?
no, I agree. I
Yep.
was just agreeing.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that what you're doing with pushing the AI, and especially as you pivoted outside of your space, it makes you just the perfect candidate to be able to speak on it because you're not speaking on it from a space of just corporation. You've actually used this in your own business. You
Yeah.
saw how it affected it and how it generated some income. And then you also are using it in the next phase of your business world. So once again, I just want to thank you for all of your work. Are there any digital systems or AI spaces that your go-to to recommend for people? Like, is ChatGPT one of them? Because I was just talking in mine today.
So I don't use ChatGPT as much anymore. I still do. So here's what I recommend. I would recommend everybody to just pay for the first version, just at least for 1 month, so you can get the feel of what it's like to get more of the benefit of a ChatGPT or a Claude or Perplexity, whichever tool that you're using. Uh, I would say I recommend Perplexity for like research purposes. I recommend Claude for like creative writing or like creative ideas and things like that. ChatGPT is still really good for strategy or going back and forth and having like a brainstorming partner. So, but more than anything, like I still write a lot. Like I write by hand the things that I have going on. My biggest recommendation after the things I just said is the AI, what am I not seeing? What am I getting wrong? You have to think about how you think. Like it's called metacognition. You gotta think about your thoughts. So you just dump into AI and you wonder why you're not getting a good response back. Is because you're not giving it good inputs. If you come home and you're frustrated from your business, you might just be yelling at the AI, same way you might yell at one of your employees or something. You're not gonna get good responses though. But seriously, just like always ask it to push back. Ask it to poke holes in whatever you got going. You don't have to use no other super fancy tools. Gemini, ChatGPT, Claude, like you just start there, pay the 20 for 1 month, see what it's like talking to it. You're gonna get more usage, you'll get access to all the features and stuff. And if you got a business, ask it two things. What am I getting wrong? How can you help me do this or make it easier? And you'll learn something. And you can just apply that to your business. And that's a great place to start. But I hold office hours every Tuesday and Thursday, like right where I'm at now, and it don't cost you nothing. If you got a question about it, just hit me up and come see me. Like, and I'll just answer the question with you, so you can learn how to use it. Like, you don't have to be with me all the time. I don't have to, you know. I want you to be able to take the power, take the tool, and go use it, man, and get busy.
I was going to ask you, how did the people get into your space? And I hate the term "pick your brain" because that's just, I don't like it. But
Me
how
either.
do people get into your space to book a chat with you so they can be able to learn more about these tools to help benefit their business? Are there group sessions? Are there one-on-ones? Like, what does that look like for you?
Yeah. So just recently, I had a group session, like a actual workshop. Um, I'm gonna be doing more of those, but you can just DM office. Like if you just DM me office, I'll just send you the schedule. That was my opportunity to say for people to ask they want to pick my brain. You don't really have time to do that all the time, but I know that it's important for them to have an understanding of where they at. So I was like, well, how can I break this down and make it work for other people? So I set up office hours. I do it twice a week. I do it virtual and I do it in person. Just DM office, and it's of no cost for any qualified business owner. Like if you got something, like if you just got something going on, I might can't help you. Like if you don't actually have a business, it's not started yet, because it's not going to be the best use of your time, because you're still actually trying to figure out where to point to solve the problem. But if you got a business and you already making things happen, you just want to know how can you layer AI on top? How can you figure out DM office? I got you. Like I have no problem. I'm gonna be sitting on the computer anyway. So just open up your laptop. I'm just open up my laptop and now we just here. So just hit me up. Like I'm gonna be on the computer anyway. So but people, I saw people, I've seen the light bulb go off so many times for folks, just telling them what it can do, because some people just don't know what it can do. We're all ignorant to something at some point. I'm still learning stuff. It's because new stuff's still coming out. So
Yeah.
just DM office. Just go to my page. You see, I put my name right here in the convo. Just go to DM office. I send you the link and just pick a time. And also I put the ball in their court. So like if you actually want to pick my brain, you're not just going to do it on my time. You just pick a time and I got you. Like I'm not saying no to nobody.
I love this. Quintel, I could ask you 30 more questions, but I've already hijacked so much of your time. But you
No
have
problem.
such an incredible story. You are continuing to learn, continuing to teach. I am grateful to witness your continuous growth in watching you dominate in these spaces. Again, the way you've pivoted, I think people have to look at that as a real skill set, because at some point in business, everyone has to pivot. And I don't know what
Hmm.
that looks like, but you better learn how to pivot. And when it's time, there is growth and success on that other side.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up, I want to give you the floor. Is there any final words you would like to share with the audience? Any businesses that are currently watching this, like anything you'd like to share, and how they can get? I know you mentioned the office hours, but any words of wisdom, or how they can get converted more over into your space? Like, floor is yours.
Yeah. So I do want to say that you're doing an incredible job too. Like I was excited when I saw that you started with Baltimore City Chamber, and I was like, look at my buddy doing that thing. And then like I seen the shift and I seen the energy behind what they had going on. So congratulations to you too, and thanks for having me and sharing this. Like, so I like to talk about these things. When you have business, it's very isolating, right? It's not, I won't say it's lonely, but it is isolating. You don't get to talk to other people about it too much. So thanks for letting me share and come here and chop it up with you. But as far as me, I have a podcast. All of the things are in my bio. So if you just go and click either office hours or click game plan, like if you want a full roadmap on how you can incorporate AI, and start figuring out how to use, content and media better. I got 2 links in my bio right here on Instagram. I make it super simple. I spend most of my time honestly on YouTube and on LinkedIn. So find me at Quintel Harcum on LinkedIn. I share a lot more content over there. My podcast highlights entrepreneurs. So I just focus on founders, people who have already found their way and figured out how to build up their business, and learn about what they have. Because what I've learned is that when they tell their story, more people start to be able to see themselves in those stories, and they get to borrow some of that energy, some of that belief, some of that vision, and not be so down on themselves when it comes to building their business, right? It's not easy for anybody. It's not always as hard as we think, though. So having those conversations, being able to share those stories is really helpful. And so I was like, well, I'm gonna just use my platform to help get more of those stories out. It's not about me just telling my story. At some point, you got to roll past. There are people who have way more than me. I need to figure out what they know. So why not let everybody hear about it, right? So that's what my podcast is all about. It's called I just rebranded the name to Full Court Founder. But if you just look up Quintel on YouTube, I'm there too. So
Very
yep.
nice. Thank you again, Quintel, for all of your expertise, your willingness to share, your vulnerability. And we are very excited to see everything else you are cooking up. If you
Thank you.
guys want to see more about what Quintel is doing, head on over to his YouTube, follow his Instagram. You will
Yep.
not, you won't lose. Just go over there, head over there. Baltimore City Chamber signs off, and so does Mother Cal. So
Yep.
head on over there. And again, thank you so much, Quintel. Hope you have a
All
beautiful
right.
rest of the day. And if
Thank
you
you.
want
You
to
too.
watch this full live, it'll be posted on